Welcome to Strictly Business, Variety's weekly podcast featuring conversations with industry leaders about the business of media and entertainment. I'm Cynthia Littleton, co-editor-in-chief of Variety. Today my guest is Ameeth Sankaran, CEO of Religion of Sports. That's a production company founded in 2017 by Tom Brady, Michael Strahan, and Gautam Chopra. Sankaran has been CEO from the start. Sports fans are no doubt familiar with the terrific documentaries and docuseries that have come from Religion of Sports. They include recent projects on such major figures as Simone Biles, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Conor McGregor, Draymond Green, and many more. In our conversation, Sankaran and I discuss the company's latest partnership, this time with tennis great Coco Gauff. And we talk about what it is that makes sports and storytelling such a potent combination. And as ever, we talk about the state of the content marketplace in general and where Religion of Sports is finding the most opportunity out there. Ameeth Sankaran, CEO of Religion of Sports, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks, Cynthia. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to talk to you. I'm a big consumer of sports content, a big consumer of ESPN, and I've seen a number of your really well-produced documentary series. I wanted to start with you at that 30,000-foot view level because your content production company was founded in 2017, and I do believe you were ahead of the curve of seeing the real growth market for documentary content related to sports, shoulder programming, as it's called. It really complements and can extend people's fandom and drive interest in what's going on and off the field or the track or wherever it happens to be. We're seeing so many athletes are interested in media, taking their brands and their followings to creating media, to launching brands, doing all kinds of brand partnerships. We're seeing this explosion of athletes as entrepreneurial engines, and with a lot of them having a lot of interest in media. What is driving that?
I think that sports in general, just starting at that highest level, is obviously, if you look at all the metrics, the number one most viewed things across the media spectrum, whether you're looking at last year's top 100 programs, all being 98 being NFL, or you look across content consumed now on YouTube TV, and so forth. You look at the rights deals. I mean, sports in general are booming.
And it's definitely keeping the lights on for linear television as well. So basically, it's the glue for the whole thing.
There's the attention drives, I think, much of this. And then you go down a level to your point, and now with social media, individual athletes are becoming their own brands and personalities. And so they are interacting directly one-on-one with their fans. So now that connectivity allows for, you see LeBron James obviously on the court, then you interact with him on social media. And so now you want to learn more. So that's kind of set the stage. And then I think that has created this explosion, especially obviously with the rise of internet, mobile, and so forth over the last decade, where people are interested in those stories. People want to get a closer look. And between the live and the day-to-day social, there is this sort of in-depth avenue that kind of is what we've carved a lane around, which is premium, unscripted documentary, whether it's archival, real-time storytelling. And so that could be following someone in real time. It could be telling their backstory. It could be a combination. It could be a lot of where we started our business was answering the question, why sports matter. So it was never about what's happening on the field or on the court, but just what is the deeper hidden meaning behind sports.
You have some news about a partnership with Coco Gauff that I want to draw you out on. But before we move on, I want to ask you about the name Religion of Sports. I can see how that animates what you do.
And Religion of Sports is Gautam, my business partner, one of our co-founders, originally came up with this idea because he grew up, Gautam Chopra, in the household of Deepak Chopra. And so he would say, well, everything when he grew up, Deepak talked about in the world of spirituality, he lived, felt, and breathed in sports. He said when he grew up in Boston, said, I'm sitting here in Boston with thousands and thousands of fans, and we have nothing in common, but we're rooting for the same thing together, the same outcome. That was the essence of our business. And so throughout that, we've stayed true to that, which is, again, this why sports matter theme. And so whether you're talking about a 5-minute short piece, we did a series, several seasons on Apple Plus called Greatness Code, which was trying to visualize flow state in a very, very compelling visual way, all the way to 10 hours of content with Serena Williams on ESPN.
You did that fantastic Simone Biles series that really just not only explained her background, but the mentality that you have to be that good at that age and to keep striving. That's the stuff that is so compelling. Not to get all Joseph Campbell about it, but there's been times when I've been at sporting events or watching on TV and being so invested, and it really does strike you that at a time of incredible polarization, alienation, and so from the get-go with the name of your company, you got my attention. So you started in 2017, Gautam Chopra, Tom Brady, Michael Strahan. You were on board from the get-go as CEO?
Yes. Gautam, Tom, and Michael started a show called Religion of Sports, which was licensed to AT&T, DirecTV's audience network at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we basically did is said, how do we make this thing a business? Because to your point, the brand resonates. Everyone knows right away, no matter where they came from, whether it was Barcelona and saying Barcelona versus Real Madrid or Alabama, Auburn, everybody knows instinctively what Religion of Sports stands for, what it means.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, there you go. Exactly. Or hook 'em. So that's how the business started and has evolved.
So if I'm not mistaken, Simone Biles joined as a partner.
She joined that board this past year. Correct.
And then your latest esteemed athlete to sign on also is Coco Gauff, fresh off of an incredible performance at the U.S. Open. Tell me about how that partnership came about.
It came about in a very authentic way. Coco, who's extremely young and very successful, has big ambitions. Her family's had big ambitions. They've had Coco Gauff Enterprises for the past 5 years, and they've been thinking about different ways to expand commercially, but also very creatively. They started IROC, which is her media business, and over the last several years have produced content on the social side, on the branded content side, and so forth. And we started a conversation, and Gautam and I met with them as well at the Super Bowl this past year and started a conversation. The conversation was really about, what does Coco find important? And she talked a lot about her own resilience, her own determination, her own hard work, her own aspiration. And at a very young age, how she's been able to do such amazing things, win a Grand Slam, but also wants to be thinking about, how does she lift up others? How does she tell other stories? And so that's where the conversation in an authentic way came from. She obviously had seen some of the work, her team had seen some of the work that we've done. That's what's really distinct about our business is we're not one athlete's production company. We're not about focusing on one thing. We're really focused on storytelling, and we have a team of storytellers. We have many directors, filmmakers, visual artists on staff. And really what we're focused on is evangelizing the brand that I described. And so what Coco saw is how we helped elevate stories with others. And I think that's what we're really excited as a partnership to do is she's got a clear point of view, her team has a clear point of view. We'll be here to help creatively bring that to life in so many different ways.
Are there any specific projects on the docket yet, or are you still kind of in the figuring it out phase?
We've already done one, and we're about to start our second with one of her brand partners. But yes, we have already had multiple conversations with the team around what can we do in the branded space that's a little different? How do we think about social/YouTube? And then what do we think about our core on the premium unscripted side? And how do we take her passion and themes, whether it's determination, resilience, Black and brown communities, kids, all these different topics, and think about how do we bring things to life in different ways.
There's a lot of athletes interested in media doing a lot of things. What have you found for Religion of Sports? What makes a fit for a partner?
Well, there's one definition of a partner can be someone we're partnering with on a piece of content. What our creative team, Gautam, Lauren, Victor, all the people on our team say all the time is pushing really the subject on what does that person have to say? Why are we doing this? It cannot just be, well, I've got the good social media profile and so let's do something. What's the point of view? What are we really talking about here? And this happens with all of our content, and it actually gets uncomfortable at times because sometimes you start asking questions of subjects that they're not ready to answer, or they don't know the answer to. It can be, I want to tell the story about this moment in my life, but then still you have to answer the question, why? What is important around that story? Or it could be with a team. We just launched a series with Birmingham, the soccer club that Tom Brady is an investor and minority owner in on Amazon, that launched it a couple months ago. And that one was following that team. But the real through line there was this vision from Tom Wagner, who's the majority owner, was to take this city, Birmingham, the second biggest city in the UK, that had this team that was relegated and has been around for over 150 years, and say, how do I elevate this 10 levels over the next decade. What is going to be the long-term vision, and how do I change the community and culture? And so that was the story that we got behind. So it wasn't just following the soccer team; it's about the culture and the community, and a decade-long plan. And then going back to your question, when it comes to Simone and Coco, which is how do we see a broader partnership beyond one piece of content? And so Coco also follow that on the same thing. She's such an incredible athlete, but at the same time has this big ambition, has a team around her who's ready to put resources together. And that's just not her core team, but even her WME team who wants to build this.
Where do you find your biggest opportunities? What's your flywheel, if you will, around content? How do you make it work as an independent production entity?
And what's really interesting, exciting right now is the core of our business we've built, as I mentioned, is a creative hub. And so we've got what we would describe as the best storytellers. And these are not just sports media storytellers. These are the best storytellers, full stop, in the business, especially in the unscripted vertical. And so that includes not just Gotham, but then we've got Bryant and Lauren, Liam, other directors on staff. We've got amazing visual effects team members. Chelsea, who's going to be leading the charge with Jonathan, our team with Coco, Victor. So we've got a creative hub. And the thing that's exciting now is we're able to deploy what people have seen now over multiple years is the quality that comes out of that hub is unparalleled. And so now we're able to deploy that in different ways. And so to answer your question, there is the typical independent production model, which is, Netflix or someone may come and say, hey, we really want you all to produce this content with Simone or Aaron Rodgers or Conor McGregor, which are all projects we've done with Netflix. Here is a fee, and here's a bunch of money to make it happen.
Right.
Go produce it, and then we own it and retain the rights. And you get a fee for your work, and you get a credit, and move on. So that still happens. And I would say that's a big part of our business still. There's another model, which is we've raised capital over the last few years. And so we can put capital to work, and we have done that. And so usually we do that when either we believe in a story so much that we think it may not happen the typical route, but it will if we put some money against it, because we think we can show the world what it is. Or we think that putting money against it will allow us to create a scenario where we are able to retain the rights or create a bidding war and an outcome. We're doing that right now with a project that we will announce next year, but we're working with a major athlete to create content that will have a theatrical component first, and then flip that into a streaming deal as well. And will also allow us to own the rights long term and do multiple seasons. And so that's that playbook. And then the thing that's exciting now that's happening, it's really accelerated a lot in the last year, is getting brands engaged in content as well. So we've created multiple deals where working with Roku and other platforms where we are creating the content. It's the same type of content we create anyway, but brands are actually paying for it. That's been an accelerant this year for sure.
Are you finding more flexibility even at some of the larger streamers in terms of willingness to maybe bargain a little bit on territories or certain kind of rights?
I think it all depends. It depends a little bit on price point. There's a project that we did that we licensed starting in the UK for a lower price point. And then we were able to start doing territory by territory deals, and it became flexible. For some of our bigger projects where there may be also talent fees and all kinds of things happening, the streamers and others will just say, if I'm paying X amount of money, I need to own all rights in perpetuity. And that's just what it is. And the only way around that is, again, going to the other path, which is, no, we financed it. We're making it. But I would say it's on that first front, what you described, it's consolidation over the last 3 years, just to be candid, has made it more challenging versus less.
Let me ask you about your infrastructure. Do you have the ability to produce yourselves?
We have produce everything in-house. We have filmmakers, DPs, and then also editors. We have post-production here in the office, color, mix, sound design, all that stuff.
That must be a big help because you have a lot more control.
Control on timing, control over quality. That was the rationale and logic for the original investment. One example is we're doing this series called Nexus, which is about the fastest 6 weeks in sports in the WNBA, between the launch of the end of the college basketball season for women and then the start of the WNBA season, including the draft, which is 6 weeks. We got brand partners from Chase to DoorDash and Uncrustables to be involved. A lot of that was an impetus to want to be involved with the quality and the work we're doing, but also be involved with women's sports.
Are there any kind of larger initiatives, anything on the horizon that we should be watching out for? Religion of sports?
We touched on the partnership with Coco, which we're really excited about. I mentioned the Birmingham project on Amazon, which has gone really well. It's been really fun. We have several more that we're announcing before the end of the year as well, which we're excited about.
I have no doubt that your phone has rung because you have great productions and there's a lot of demand for very strong content producers. Are you happy where you are? Are you entertaining ideas of potentially larger partnerships for the company itself?
We've always been thinking about more concrete international expansion. Birmingham was a foray. We partnered with the company there called Whisper, which has been a great partnership. Whisper does a lot of live production, but they also have a smaller doc unit. And so it was a co-production partnership where they were on the ground in the UK and took Gotham, myself, some of our team out to the UK quite a bit. And we've had lots of conversations with companies there. So I think on the horizon is something internationally, whether it's Europe, Middle East, and so forth. And then I think the other part is, I mentioned the Creative Hub, where I think we see that going over time is a very organic for us growth in shorter form, in particular YouTube and other content. And so some of that can be hires, which we've already made some, but some of it could also be companies that we could partner with.
As an independent, is it hard to balance the desire to invest in really cool R&D and things that may or may not pan out versus more tried and true? Is that a juggling act for you in terms of resources?
For sure. We did have the luxury. We raised $50 million in 22, which allowed us to do a lot of things, including we bought a small company in the UK. We've invested in our infrastructure. We've made certain bets on content and taken some bets on some things that, as I alluded to on the theatrical side, for example, that might be risky. But at the same time, to your point, I mean, especially what's happened in the last few years around consolidation, we're always thinking about the right balance of resources and the right balance of, is this something that's going to turn into a return given the dynamics of things that are changing in our landscape as well. I think that's where we go back to like, what are our core strengths, which is, I mentioned storytelling a few times. I think the second thing for us now has been, we clearly have access to talent and ability to engage with the Coco Gauffs, the Simone Biles, Tom Brady, Steph Curry's, others of the world that we've worked with many, many times. And then the third for us is relationships at a very senior level with networks and leagues and teams and so forth.
Well, there is certainly no shortage of subjects and interesting stories rolling around, not only in U.S. sports, but certainly streaming has opened up the world. And my last question for you, Ameeth, is you mentioned you had a significant fundraise in 2022. What did the process of doing that fundraising teach you about where investors see the heat in content?
I think it's changed over the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I would say what I described as our core competitive advantages is still exactly why investors invest. I think the value at the time that was attributed to talent was potentially higher than it is now. If you look at some of the valuations for other companies and everything from Candle Media to Spring Hill at the time and other things, and it's probably come down in a healthy way over the last few years. But I think in that context, to your point, what is still core is still the same as probably it was 50 years ago when you look at the Disney flywheel, which is, how do you get access to something that demands attention? And then how do you build a flywheel and an ecosystem around it? And so for us, that is religion of sports as a brand. And then it's kind of these partnerships. Like, the thing that's exciting about Coco, again, bringing it back to that conversation, is not just one partnership, one talent, but a set of content around a set of themes that she's excited about, which could expand from short form to long form to then, who knows, maybe there's products over time and so forth. That's what investors are excited about, is how do you see something that can spawn much more than one piece of content that could build really a brand and an ecosystem.
The possibilities are incredible. Well, Ameeth, thank you so much for taking the time to talk me through this. I'm going to continue to look for your logo as a trademark of quality. And since we have just started NFL season, I'm going to sign off by saying, go Bills.
You had a great game last week. Good to talk to you, Cynthia.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to leave us a review at Apple Podcasts or Amazon Music. We love to hear from listeners. Please go to variety.com and sign up for the free weekly Strictly Business newsletter. And don't forget to tune in next week for another episode of Strictly Business.